Hi, my name is Lauren Kay, and welcome to The Games That Made Me. We started this podcast to look at the lives and stories of those who are working in the games industry by looking at the games that shaped our guests' futures. Today we're joined by Neil Newbon. Neil's an actor and performance artist, well known for lending his voice to characters such as Elijah Kamski in Detroit Become Human, Karl Heisenberg in Resident Evil Village, and Astarion in Baldur's Gate 3. And here are the games that made him. Neil.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming on The Games
Welcome.
That Made Me.
I'm lounging. I need to probably
know.
sit up. I'm probably hiding behind the mic. It's very, very comfortable here.
It's very easy to get into lounge feel. I think that's the thing. Like, we really want to go for just absolute comfort.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get massage chairs at some point.
Disarmingly comfortable.
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. Don't worry. This is all going to be fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
But no, I'm so thankful to have you on the show.
Oh, thanks for asking.
Because, I mean, your career has just been so immense and so amazing.
It's been a very interesting year, I think, is the best way of saying it.
Yeah,
It's been good. And it's
100%.
been interesting. To be honest, it's been an interesting 15 years. I've had a really amazing ride for a very long time, touch wood, and I'm very lucky to be in the position I am now, and very lucky to be able to help people. And also, I'm very grateful to all the many, many people over my entire career that have taken a chance on me, supported me, championed me. It's a really incredible feeling to have those number of people, that many people really like my craft work, and I suppose me as well, you know, ultimately to take a risk on me as a person as well. So I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's great. It's been amazing. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. And one thing, like, before we get into our games as well, that I wanted to say is that, like, one of the first interactions that we had, because I think it was at the Golden Joysticks last year.
Yeah, that's right.
And you asked me something that was like something that no other like sort of celebrity voice actor that I've met has ever asked me, which was like, we got a selfie and you asked me if you could put your arm around my shoulder. Yeah. And I was like, you know, it sounds like a small thing, but that boundary setting and like that understanding, I just thought was just so wonderful. So,
well, I don't want to be presumptuous, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's important to, it is a small thing, but I think it's also, it's a nice thing, because it's sort of like, you're not just taking somebody for granted. You're not just assuming, oh, I'm doing this now, you know, you have to come with me. It's more like, are you okay with that? Because some people aren't, you know, which is fair enough.
Yeah, so, completely. And it just meant a lot. Like, cool. I think about it like a lot, where I'm just like, actually, that's such a cool thing that I think.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thanks.
The thing is, it's like normalizing things like that. Like boundaries should be normalized, and not also like, I find sometimes people get very. In my experience, I've met people that get weirded out by people saying this is a boundary, and they get almost defensive to a point where they sort of become slightly aggressive about it. Trigger. Yeah, kind of like they feel guilty or bad, or like, why are you making me feel this way? It's like, we're not. We just this is a boundary. For instance, my private life and my public life are two very different things, and it's important for me to have that boundary to protect my family, to protect me. To also to protect the characters I play, to say I want you to know more about their lives and their likes and the things that they would do in the morning or do in the evening, or whatever the music they would listen to, because nobody's written a game or a film or a theatre about my life, and they shouldn't. It's interesting and boring at the same time. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't have a life that's worth making into a fictional piece. Therefore, the character's life, which is more interesting, should be the focal point, I hope, of audience, of players, of, you know, the audience, because they should be more invested in that person that I'm trying to portray and show up to the world. And, you know, so I think boundaries are important, and also easy. You know, same thing with like names, pronouns, you know, whatever people want to reveal to each other, you know, in the normal discourse of human life, is this is who I am, or this is a facet of me, and you can address me like this. Easy, super easy. You know, I don't understand what the hubbub is when people get like, oh, I'm not going to call you a different pronoun. I know I'm going American, that's really presumptuous. But, you know, like, why should, it's like, why should I call you a different pronoun? It's like, because it's like their name. It's exactly the same thing. It's just how they would like to be addressed. Easy. Actually, the argument of it takes longer than the doing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So saying to somebody, you know, are you okay if I do this? Takes 2 seconds, and it's fair enough, I think.
Yeah. So your first game, Rebel Star Raiders.
Yes.
Which just, I hadn't heard of, but I mean, the person who started, Julian Gallup, is like legend.
Amazing design. He's a legendary designer because he came up with stuff that nobody had been done before. His first game was Chaos, which actually was like a kind of interestingly simplified version of the mechanics that went into his later games, but was still actually weirdly complicated for the time. You chose a wizard, you had a whole bunch of spells you could choose from, and you could either go light or dark side magic, depending on what you cast. And then it was just basically a fight in this like square rectangle arena, and you just had to fight to the death. It was like they basically just killing every wizard that, you know, whatever. And that was the first game he made. But I met his games at Rebel Star Raiders, which became Rebel Star and then Rebel Star 2. Then it was like, I think it was like Lord of Chaos, I think it was called, and also Laser Squad. And they were strategy games, but the interesting thing about them is that they gave you names. Like they all had names. They became like real little dudes, as opposed to like Manic Miner, which was just like, you know, beep, 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 or Chucky Egg or whatever. You just, it's a little dude. It's called this apparently, and that's it. These had names, and you started as a kid. I started filling in the background of who they were and who they were to each other, and, you know, saying that, oh, the Kurt Levine likes this person and doesn't like that person. Jasper is like a bit of a douche. So, you know, so nobody likes Jasper. Things like that. And it was just interesting because it was a very interesting simplified strategic game, but it was really fun. And it felt like an action movie, you know, on the ZX Spectrum with like, you know, tiny graphics and things like that.
I'm waiting for the Neil Newbon Wikipedia page for your characters as well, for all the lore of your characters.
Of my dudes? No, that's private. Apart from Jasper, who's a douche.
Oh yeah, Jasper's
a douche.
Yeah, Jasper can die. What first got you interested in playing Rebel Star Raiders?
I was from the age of like very early. I was into like I read a lot. As a voracious reader. I used to have insomnia as well as a kid, so I used to watch like late night black and white movies and things like that just to be able to try and pass out. And I just, something about the creativity of that. I was into theatre as a kid. I remember seeing like my first proper stage musical play thing, which was Cats, the original version of Cats.
That was mine too.
Yeah, and that just exploded this idea of manifesting a fictional world. The first major book I ever read was Lord of the Flies and Lord of the Rings, and then I read The Hobbit afterwards to sort of get the backstory of it. And that was it. I was just hooked on this idea of virtual fantasy worlds of storytelling. And it just triggered something inside me in a really happy, healthy way. And my imagination was I had an overactive imagination anyway. So all of the stuff I do and all the stuff I would play with, you know, toys and things like that, as kids do, was always about storytelling. And it was always about that. So Rebel Star Raiders was cool because it was like an action movie. And games were cool for me back in the 80s because, you know, it was like living a fantasy life. And it's weird that now looking back at the games, because you can get these games on like emulators or even on iOS and things like that. And you can play them again. It's like there's a real nostalgia to these games for me because it reminds me of the unabashed creativity I used to have as a kid when there wasn't a worry about a career, there wasn't a worry about getting a job or anything like that kind of stuff, or paying bills. It was just about the play of creating a fantasy world. And that's never left me, thankfully. I'm very lucky that as an adult, I still have a very childlike aspect towards play. And work, funnily enough, comes into that as well. So yeah, I got into games. ZX Spectrum was my first thing. I don't even remember how I convinced my family to get me one. I think it was so I could be occupied because I had a lot of energy. So it was like, just give him that and he'll just, you know, that's where he'll be. And having to make your own games was kind of interesting. So you had to like read out from magazines like, you know, line 10, go to 20, if this, all that kind of basic language that you had to learn to make a game and then play it. And then, of course, cassette tapes. It would take 45 minutes to load the game. It was a real emotional investment. And, you know, God forbid if it actually crashed. And then it was like, can I do this again? Can I spend 45 minutes watching beep, 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 and then
people
play the
complaining
game?
about loading screens nowadays.
Oh man, get over it, dude. We had to spend an entire afternoon to play a game. So like, it was like, you know, you had to commit. And it was one game. I remember playing Zoids and it was like the thing crashed. And I was like, because I suddenly got this thing that I hadn't been able to do before. It was like, no. Just sit sit with the emotional resonance of do I have to, not only do I have to load it again and then have to play it again to the exact same. It was a nightmare.
Especially like those games weren't easy.
And the games were not easy. They weren't. It's interesting being an old gamer. Because, like, I remember when nothing was explained to you. Well, you had basic information of instructions. The Great Escape, ZX Spectrum, amazing game. I had, like, this kind of very basic AI sets of, like, behaviours for all of the characters, like the German guards, the British POWs, whatever. And there was no explanation of how all these things work together. You had to learn the game. I really like that. I really like it when games don't give you much information. They just let you go out there, you know, like old MMORPGs and things like that. I really like them because it wasn't a huge amount of information. You had to learn, you had to ask other people, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of that like learning to fail, I think.
Yeah. Failure's the best way of learning. I learned way more in my career and life as well by failing than I ever did my successes. Yeah, for sure.
We did talk about a bit like last episode about like cozy games. Would you say like
cozy
I
games.
find like cozy in the sense of like games that you come back to when you kind of like when you kind of feel out of control, you feel like really busy. Like, do you find that these kind of strategy games kind of center you? Do you still come back to them?
Depends. I have a wonderful situation that I work in a huge amount. I kind of pretty much work 7 days a week, to be honest. I've got a lot of other things that I'm planning to do as well, and things that I'm already involved with, none of which I'm going to talk about because I can't.
Oh, yeah.
But there's lots and lots of opportunities and things now, which is wonderful. So I have a palette cleansers, like a Mind Palace palette cleanser. There are definitely some pick up and play games that are just stupid and fun. Strategy games I really like to commit to. Do you know what I mean? I used to play a lot of Total War. Love Total War. Total War was an amazing series. I used to play a lot of that, and that takes time and commitment. That's not an easy, quick jump in, jump out kind of thing. But yeah, I have my cozy games, my chaotic cozy games that I like to play.
Yeah, just like a little bit of spice.
Just a little chaos.
Just delicious. All right, now we're moving on to a game that I kind of like.
A controversial choice, I
believe. It's Final Fantasy VIII.
Yes,
like,
love it.
Honestly,
it's actually my all-time favorite Final Fantasy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's amazing, though.
Which is a very controversial statement, but I know Ben Starr, my friend, also supports this.
Yeah, I don't think it's very I myself, Final Fantasy VIII was my first one, and so I have a very strong affiliation with this game. But what was it that brought you to Final Fantasy VIII? What was the first thing that sort of?
Well, I played the hell out of Final Fantasy VII. I really liked Final Fantasy VII. 7 was great and is great. It's a great game. 8 came along and it changed the nature of Final Fantasy. It made it more cinematic. It made it more filmic. It kind of made it a bit more real as well, in a way. And I liked the darker vibes of the relationship interactions. 7 was always for me like, I'm the good guy, I'm the good guy, I'm the good guy. And then the good guy,
and he falls in a hole.
He falls in a hole. It was like, okay, cool, But for me, like when 8 came along, it was like, oh, I can really relate to these people now. Now they feel real, even though obviously looking back, this is like early 2000s or whenever it was. Obviously it was 98, I think, something like that when it came out. Obviously the graphics has changed substantially, but for the time it was really like, whoa, this is amazing, and the cinematics are glorious and operatic, and the scale is epic and huge. Like, I really enjoyed the aspect of that, and I really liked the fact that the relationship, you really wanted them to be together, and it was that sort of like, oh, come on, Squall, stop being an idiot and just kiss her, dude, whatever the thing was, right? I really liked all those things. I thought this is a really grown-up Final Fantasy. Also, it was a brilliant game, and the card system was great as well. The card game is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, love the Queen of Cards. I had to cheat it a lot with the.
I never cheated it. I accidentally kind of discovered and also I got obsessed with asking every single person in the game to play cards with me.
Yeah, it's like even the ones who don't want to ask. What are you talking about?
Because then you get that card. It's like, oh, you've got that card. Yeah, what kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then you kind of, I think that's like one of the things I love about as well is that certain characters will have cards for the person who they secretly love.
Yeah.
So like there's like one girl who had a really big crush on Zell, and she has Zell's card.
Yeah, sure.
It's just like what a like crush thing to have. It's like I am your card, actually. I think like Final Fantasy VIII narratively, it's really fascinating because it's almost like it reads like Shakespeare in a lot of ways.
There are aspects of it that you could absolutely say are kind of almost Shakespearean, and unrequited love, or like friends becoming enemies, betrayals, Iago stuff. There's a lot of really cool things in it. I think it was, and I thought it was a very grown up Final Fantasy for the time period, So that's why Final Fantasy VIII was very cool.
Yeah, no, I love that.
Plus the swords were epic.
I know.
Gunblades, come on.
I know. That you could shoot as well as slice.
Yeah, if you timed it right, obviously.
Yeah. I didn't know that until I met Daryl. So I played through that whole game without knowing that.
So you never pressed R1?
I never pressed R1. Okay. I did a non-R1 run.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an achievement in itself.
I like to make things difficult. Renoa as well. Like she was this tough little, daughter of a politician who was just, she had such a cool outfit. She was
cool, man. It was cool. But also, I think the operatic opening with the music and it just set up, this is going to be a tragic love story. Like no matter what, on the beach with the water coming in, all that kind of stuff. The water's lapping in and out, and they feel the beach, and then you just see her turn. This feather falls and turns. It was just like, dude. And it starts off with like a kind of Romeo and Tybalt fight sequence, and the characters also kind of follow those like archetypes. Yeah, it was very cool. Yeah.
But we do need to know if there was a Final Fantasy VIII character that you would like to play. Which one do you think you'd...
I've heard rumour from people here that I would make a good Cypher. Yeah, Cypher would be a fun role. You know what? I don't often play heroes. I reckon Squall is kind of like it feels a bit anti-hero for me.
Yeah.
So I could give Squall a run. Yeah. That's a little egocentric, perhaps.
But
Cypher would be fun. Yeah, Cypher would be fun. Zell would be kind of fun, but I don't think I've got that in me necessarily. There's friends of mine that could play Zell. You
could do the mocap for Zell.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. We did make up for most of them.
Zella's like, they flipped.
But yeah, no, I think Cypher would be obvious. Would be an obvious choice. I feel. I would like to try Squall because it's a difficult character, because it's the Romeo character.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be Romeo. Romeo was a hard role. I actually did Romeo and Juliet. I played Tybalt. Great role. Yeah. Friend of mine, Alan Pierce, who did. Is it Alan Pierce? Wow, that's such a long time ago. Anyway, Alan, who's this wonderful, lovely actor. He was he half Nepalese, half British mix. Very cool guy, very interesting human being. British guy with a great ancestry, a very interesting kind of like vibe to the guy. He was a very, very centered actor and very fun, very playful. And he and I he was Mercutio, I was Tybalt, and Paul Reddy was Romeo. And it was a very interesting dynamic between the three of us. It was really fun. It was a great theatre run. But I have to say, I did not envy Paul, who was playing Romeo, because it's a tough role. Because you've got to be the ultimate, like, young lover thing. And it's pretty, there's not a huge amount of room to play in that character, I feel. Whereas with Mercutio and Tybalt, there's a lot of stuff you can play with. Plus, you're out after just after the interval. So you get to go to the pub or go to a coffee or just read a book or something. You're out, great, I'm done, this was fun. Yep. Enjoy the rest of the tragic fall of Romeo and Juliet. Yeah. So for me, like Squall could be like a Romeo character. Very tricky to get him right, I feel.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. Yeah. Like I always gravitated towards Mercutio. I think.
Man, I'm a Mercutio Tybalt kind of person.
So cool. Like,
just because there's no pressure on you.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like I played a lot of characters, a lot of supporting characters in my work, and. Ultimately, I really like those characters that there's just no pressure. You can just really push it. See what happens. You know, I got away with some really silly characters in the past.
Like what ones were sort of like...
Heisenberg is one of those. So Heisenberg is a character where I felt zero pressure. I had so much fun on Resident Evil Village. Plus I made some lifelong friends. I also worked with some lifelong friends already. Steve Kniebley, the director, Maggie Robertson became a friend on that. Nicole Tompkins, Jeff Shine. The rest of the cast are amazing. They're really lovely people as well. So it's like I had some really good time on that. Yeah. And I got to make this guy. It's kind of all over the place. He's a lord. It was just weird and strange and fun. And I didn't think the Japanese executives were going to go for it. And they said yes. And they was like, cool. So I got to have a lot of fun with that character, you know. Whereas the Romeo characters, the Squall characters, it's tough. They're really tough because they live in a certain place that is very difficult to do a huge amount with. But I'd like to give it a go. Yeah, sure, why not?
Why not? I could be Squall, you know.
It is
Squall.
Be Squall.
But I will say the thing that I love about, I mean, I dive into VIII lore a bit too much for any normal person. But but the thing that I do love about Cypher is the fact that he's a character who's been told, so he's the reason why like the Dullet mission gets like messed up.
Yeah, sure.
But he's also the reason why it was saved and the reason why things were good. But he's the one who got the slap on the hand for it, and Squall got made into seed. Yeah. So it's like that juxtaposition of like, how do you manifest? How do you recognize that somebody, although they broke the rules, actually did it for the greater good?
But also the treatment is different for you than it is for another person. And also that's also marginalize him. It marginalizes the character. It diminishes him. Without, I mean, metaphorically speaking, it kind of neuters him in a way. He loses his power in that moment. And that's why he ends up joining the baddies. You know, he becomes a villain.
Because he just wants to be appreciated.
He wants to be appreciated. And actually, when you come back to all of it, then you come back to why he's such a bully and why he's so aggressive and all this kind of stuff. And actually, you go back to the core value of the character. Yeah, the guy just wants to be loved and respected and taken in as you know, all that kind of stuff, right? Which is very common in many characters, obviously. But it's an interesting thread to follow, because then he's not a villain. Because I don't play villains. I play people that are sometimes morally questionable. Just a little bit. But also, you know, ultimately, you have to play them for real. You have to love them, and you have to play them in a way where you're honouring their story. You can't judge them for it. Yeah. So, yeah, Cypher's a really interesting character because it comes from such a deep place of insecurity. And then he does all these things. And like you said, he's trying to prove himself and does the wrong thing for the right reason. And then ultimately, he's the one that gets punished. Squall is not. Squall gets elevated by it. Kind of tough.
With that in mind as well, though, like, you've been in Final Fantasies.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, like, 2 of them.
Yeah. Like, and actually, how I first kind of got to know you as, like, the actor was through Kingsglaive.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, because that was 2015?
2015 was an interesting year for my career. I've been working in, when did I start? Started in mocap work only in 2010. Went into voice work 2012. I think it was. My first job was on Secret World, the Secret World, and also Lego. One of the Lego games that just got canned, I believe, at some point. But yeah, the Secret World was like my first voice work gig. But 2015, I did Horizon Zero Dawn until 2015-16, and then I also did Kingsglaive. Kingsglaive was a very interesting role. For many reasons, but also it was the first time that somebody ever referred to me as an expert in mocap, because I was like, oh yeah, I guess I do know what I'm doing. I've been doing this like 5 years now. Yeah, I think I know what I'm doing. And so I got brought on. Larry Spinks was the producer for the English part of Square Enix. I got to work with Takeshi Nazura-san, who's amazing. He's such a nice guy, and the whole team was awesome. Aki and Shu, wonderful animation directors who also came on board. From Square, and we had this amazing time. We had this amazing experience, and it was really cool. I got to play multiple characters. I got to voice a character.
Yeah, Petra.
Yeah,
with his little wink. Was that
little wink,
you, or was that like them?
So I had a thing for a while where I wanted to draw a thread through a lot of characters. And so for a while, I don't do it all the time now.
Was that kind of like your brand? Your calling card?
It was a little wink nod to me. I tried to make all of my characters give one wink. Like one of those things, just a little like that. Yeah. I did it for a while, and then I thought, this is silly, I have to drop this. So throughout, like, there's a lot of characters, not the ape that I play, because that would be weird. Apes don't wink, sorry. But yeah, through a lot of characters I played, I added a wink in at some point. I'm pretty sure Gavin Reed does it as well. There's a little like that. And it was a thing I did for a while through about like 5 or 6 or 7 characters, something like that. I just added it in with nobody really noticing. Yeah. Just because I thought it was interesting. I thought it was funny.
Well, I mean, it was the thing that I remembered the most about Petra, actually. Like, I remember the wink a lot because, it was just this cool little thing. And I think those kind of quirks are... I like finding quirks.
Well, I think that's the job of an actor, though. It's not just about saying the lines, turning up, doing the blocking or whatever. It's also about really living the life of the character. And I'm a character actor. I come from method acting. I also studied Laban. I also studied commedia dell'arte, mask work. Like, I studied most things in acting that you can do. I still study. You know, I'm a perpetual life student, I think, because you should be as a craftsperson. It's inhabiting the life, finding the habits that make them unique. Because I think the duration of time spent on this planet for most human beings is the sum of the infinitesimally small moments of our lives, the little things, the habits. How do you have your coffee? How do you open a door? Like, how do you laugh? How do you... What kind of songs would you burst into when nobody's around? Do you sing well? Sorry, my tummy's just rumbling. How do all that kind of stuff? How do you react when your tummy? How do you react when you got something like your tummy rumbles in public? All those little things, which are unique, should be unique to each character, need to be explored by the actor, I think, because then they become second nature when you're inhabiting the clothes of the the character as the actor. If you can do that, then you have these effortless moments that people go, I really like that thing. It's like, yeah, there was a reason for it. It wasn't just me being silly putting a wink in. There's a reason why he was doing that. It relates directly to the story in the moment. And, sometimes it can be improvisational, but it all is based on how you've created the character. And if you've done your work, these things can fly off and can occur. They can become habits that are interesting to then tell the story, not just through exposition and lines of dialogue, but through action. So things like that, I really like playing around with things like that.
Yeah, I think I do love that about being an actor in general. It's something that like a lot of people say that you can do a lot with like theater, and
you can do a lot with a little, as well.
Yeah, but like it feels like mocap really opened that up for
performance
games.
Capture for sure. I mean, there's I did the full performance capture for Nyx, and I also played Petra in full performance. I did combat for both and all the rest of it, stunts and things like that. It was really fun. And then it was the first time I did two performances in that level. I did multi-role work before for many years, but on that level of prominency of like the lead character and one of the supporting characters as well. To have to then really dig into, okay, I've got to make these people wildly different because otherwise you'll see it's the same person. Same thing with Detroit Become Human. I had to play two characters that, do kind of occur relatively close to each other in the timeline, and they have to be different. So it's very good training in that way because I got to take my face off and be a character actor, which I am, which is cool. But it was interesting in Final Fantasy Kingsglaive because I'm playing an immigrant and I'm playing a racist or an anti-immigrant person, I was somebody who's prejudiced, xenophobic, whatever. So it's interesting to play both sides of that. And again, not judging the character you're playing. Petra is not a cool guy until the end when he makes a sacrifice and he's kind of okay. But he's not cool, He would probably, his politics are not okay. Do you know what I mean? Whereas Nyx is a good person, and is ultimately makes a huge sacrifice and is trying to do the right thing and is technically in their world an immigrant. He comes in, he's even talked about as an immigrant. And it's interesting to play both sides of that and having to honor both sides of that. Because when I did that scene where Nyx and Petra are together, it was myself and another actor, and we had to swap positions, obviously. But I'm having to play both sides of that in one scene, which we shot in one afternoon. It was very interesting because it was like, cool, this is very fascinating of... how do I make that work and seem authentic?
It's like twins.
Yeah, it was kind of cool, man. I enjoyed that a lot.
With regards to your acting career as well, because I know you've said before about like around 2008, you were feeling a bit lost.
I was broke, man. I was broken. Actually, I would say 2008 was okay. 2009, 2009-10. That was the year. Was like, I can't do this anymore. Not because I don't want to. Not because the urge wasn't there. I would have been miserable as well. I don't know what I would have done with my life. I had zero clue probably would have ended up as, there was a wonderful catering company called Cellar Society, who are amazing, who gave me a lifeline throughout all of those years of giving me all this work. They're beautiful people. Bertie and Adam are amazing. They run, they still exist. They're still very, very good. And recommend it to any actor or model or, you know, artist of any nature that needs pickup work, that doesn't mind working hard. You should seek them out in London. They're very, very cool. And they'll help you. They expect a lot, but they also treat you well.
Yeah.
So, you know, at that time I was really in a bad position and also frustrated because I was never in a situation where somebody would ask me for an audition for a role that would really stretch me or really be interesting. It would be like this role or that role. And that would be like, okay, I understand. I'm not stupid about the industry. I get it. You have to look a certain way. I get it. But then you're going up against people that you look like that have a 10 times the size of your profile. It's an impossible task and it's hard. And I feel very sympathetic to any young actor that is starting, does well, struggles, you know, all that stuff. You have to be very mentally strong as well as being very emotionally strong, as well as being a good craftsperson on top of that. It's a lot, which is why I never recommend anybody becoming an actor unless you need to be an actor, you know? So for me, it was an interesting moment and games saved me. You know, again, coming full circle back to when I was a kid about being so absorbed by games and fantasy worlds and storytelling. It was games that saved me. And I was reading a PC Gamer magazine and it was about Keeley Hawes, who's doing Lara Croft. It was about voice work. And it was at Side, I think there was a picture of them at Side or whatever. And at the bottom of the article was a tiny little picture about motion capture. Didn't know what it was. Nobody ever talked about it. Had nobody that knew anything about it. But I saw it and went, that is theatre and film. I get it. I don't know if I can do it, but I reckon I can. So I'm going to maybe have to quit anyway because I see no way out of this. Why don't I just contact these people? Audio motion. All right. I had to phone up the telephone directory because that's how old it was. Like that was like, hi, I need the number for the studio. You know, it was like that. It was really like, you know, wild. And then I just phoned them and said, hi, I'm an actor. I've done military stuff. I'm gun trained. I've been a martial artist for decades. I've done stunts and things like that. I'm also an actor from theatre. I can do accents and all this kind of stuff. I think I'm got a pretty wide skill set. I think it's applicable to the work. I would love to work with you. And they auditioned me for Ghost Recon Future Soldier, playing 30K, doing performance capture for 30K. And that was it. I just started, like, within like a couple of weeks, I started working. And that was Brian Mitchell and Stacey Boisel. Brian Mitchell, both of whom have left Audio Motion since, but they used to run Audio Motion. And they gave me my first gig. And then they started championing me. And without them, without Brian, without Stacey, I would not have a career. I wouldn't be here speaking to you right now. Obviously a lot of hard work and other people help as well, but
of course.
Without their support, Aaron Green, who's at Sony as well, Aaron also gave me a lot of advice how to get into the industry. And without those people there championing me, I would have quit and I wouldn't have any of this stuff that's happened to me.
And I think it's like the thing as well, like finding that USP, like that thing that like kind of like makes you you. I think you've done that really well.
Thank you.
In the last 15 years, like, you know, like I think you've found a way to make you as a part of the conversation, like the talent that you have,
thank you.
The skill that you have, you know, like I think you're like we said before, like a Swiss Army knife.
That's exactly, I'm multi-role. I can do everything.
Yeah.
And I've done everything, which is great. And it's really it's awesome now to also be like a veteran, I guess, of the industry, which is what people have said. I now direct, I now produce. I have a production company as well, and we do like performance capture shoots with games. We work as coordinators, like all kinds of stuff like that. I also have a non-profit workshop that I run, which I help actors. We run at a cost, so we don't make profit from it. We pay everybody. All the crew gets paid, obviously, that we hire. The studio gets paid. But it's non-profit, so we keep the cost as low as possible so that an actor can do that and then get one mocap job for one day and they've paid for the course.
Oh, fab.
Which is great. It's also tax deductible for the actor, which is awesome. So then it's not going to cost them an arm and a leg just to learn how to get into the industry and do it. It's not a prerequisite because I didn't go on a course. I listened to advice. I did it by trial and error. And actually, it's the interesting thing about the days of mocap then. We were doing stuff that now is commonplace. Then nobody had done before in motion capture.
Oh, wow.
Like, how do you eat a chocobo you know, kebab.
Yeah.
You know, when you're wearing an HMC, a head-mounted camera, how do you do all this stuff? We were finding out a lot of stuff by just simply trying it.
Yeah.
It was very cool. It was a really exciting time.
Because like I've seen some of the clips from things that you've done where it's like walking through a snowstorm.
Yeah,
and the physicality of it. And like,
and having to workshop
like a hose around you or something?
Yeah, they did. We did a whole bunch of stuff. We once spent one day, I can't remember which project it was on now. There was 2 performers, myself and somebody else, and all of the team at Audio Motion. It was Audio Motion again. And we spent a good 3 or 4 hours working on how to move through snow. And it was really fun. It was great. But we tried like 10 different ways of how to do this before it became, that looks authentic now. Now that feels right. And it was a combination of performance and also strapping our legs with sandbags and tying our waist around somebody holding us back and all this kind of stuff that nobody had done before.
Yeah.
They were just like, well, how do we do this?
Yeah.
And actually, I would say at the time, like, I think really Britain was the leading, in terms of talent, in terms of what we were exploring, we had so many American clients coming over to Britain or remoting in because what we were doing was such high level that we started working all over the world. It was very cool. I certainly did. It was very, very cool. Yeah, it was an exciting time. It still is exciting, but you know, those days were like wild.
Well, it almost kind of sounds like it's a performance designer. Like that sounds almost like game building, like this sort of figuring it thing, problem solving and designing ways in order to make it happen.
Well, a lot of acting really when you're shooting, especially from a director's point of view, is about working it out, seeing how it works, you know, finding the organic moments in the moment. And sometimes it just requires very clever ideas and inspirational ideas, impulsive ideas. You know, I love it when actors offer up. I'm one of those actors that I would love to offer up ideas. Like we got the thing in the bag. That's what you need. But I've got an idea for this. Can I just try this? Sometimes those are the ones that the people pick. You know, Baldur's Gate 3. We had a lot of those moments of, I know this is the line. I'm not going to change the line, but I've got an idea for the line that you probably haven't thought of. Can I just try this? Yeah. And actually, Baldur's Gate 3, I was taking a lot of artistic liberty, and they were very cool about supporting me in it. So I really appreciate, you know, both Larry and Stephen, and also Pit Stop. You know, were awesome at supporting my crazy ideas.
I remember. I think you were talking about. Halson, because I think, did you do a recording session with Halson?
I just directed.
You directed him, so you knew what he sounded like.
Yeah, but I also knew his speech rhythm.
Yeah.
And I knew his timbre as well. And I was like, the week after I'd finished working with Dave. Dave's a great actor, lovely guy as well.
He's so
nice. He's so nice.
He's the sweetest.
Yeah, he's lovely. I'm really thrilled for his and not all the rest of everybody's success, but him particularly. I'm really thrilled that Dave's had so much success from this. It's great. But I just finished working with him, and I remember thinking, the week after I had this line, and I think I was working with Beth. I can't remember who it was. Maybe Beth or Thomas or somebody like that. Oh, Josh, maybe, or Adrian. Beth is just chaotic in herself, I must say.
Her TikTok is phenomenal.
Yeah, Beth will tell you a story about working with me first. And she was like, apparently, she's told me this, and she's been public about it, so I'm pretty sure I can say it. The first time she ever worked with me, she was warned about me. She was like, Neil likes to play, you know, you have to read it and all this kind of stuff. And I started working, and apparently she was like, I can't believe they let him do this. This is too much. Why are they letting him just play around? This is insane. And then apparently she got it. And then she was like, oh, I get it. It's part of the process. Because I like to keep my creative motor turning over. And so to do that, you have to be in a playful place, you know. Obviously respectful, but there's boundaries, you know, whatever. Yeah. Sometimes you can break those. But with Dave, I just finished working with Dave, and he was so cool. And then the week after, we had this line popped up, and I was like, I am going to make that a habit. I thought it was a habit for Astarion. He would mimic people, mimic their voice, and as a way of dismissing them, or even just like if he liked the person, you know, kind of like a cheeky way of doing that, taking you know, the thing out of them. And so I thought, okay, well, let's try this. And I did it, and all I heard was silence, and all I could see the director in the window just going like that. I was like, great, we can keep that. And then of course I did it for Cazador as well. So I I did that. I mimicked Cazador, but that was a very different version. So it's the same habit in a different way. So things like that, as we talked about earlier, about forming these little habits, these little idiosyncratics that you don't need to explain when you're in the job. Obviously now we're talking about it because it's interesting, I guess. But in the job, you don't need to explain it. They just do it. And that becomes part of the character. And then you can sort of, it becomes more real in that way.
No.
But it's very funny. Yeah.
Exploring nature.
Exploring the nature of one's gifts. And of course, he finds it funny. So and I found it funny because I thought this is really funny.
No, that's great. But I will say, as we're talking about Astarion as well, talk about fun character.
I found a character that I realized I could do almost anything with.
Yeah.
Within the realms of staying him.
Yeah.
And once I realized within the first month, the potential of what I could do with Astarion, every day was just glorious. What am I going to do today? I get all the lines in. We all got the lines sent to us. So I'm very studious. I'm very diligent. That's a thing from my old man actually. Like when you're working hard, you have to commit to it. You have to. You can't. There's no half measures. So I'm very, very studious when it comes to my work. So I go through 1,000 lines of dialogue that we had to do that week or whatever, and each individual one, I'm starting to make not definite choices, ideas of choices. So that I've got lots of ammunition that when I go into a session, I've got like a whole bunch of different ways I could potentially try this moment or this scene. And when I was being at home, reading through them on like an Excel document and just giggling inanely of like, oh, well, that would be an interesting idea. Why don't I try that? Obviously, you've got to keep it fresh in terms of like when you're in the moment, you can't force the idea. And if it doesn't, there'd be many times where I've tried something, it just didn't work. Either the director, you can't do that. Even I went, that was bad. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
But sometimes, these ideas also pop out to you in the moment as well. Oh, I've got an idea now. Oh, that just triggered off something. Let's just try this as an impulse. So, all that stuff, it was just so much fun. And even the heavier scenes were so much fun in a different way. They were very challenging, but I felt so gratified to be able to play this character and honor his story and be the person, the custodian of his story in that way. It was just awesome. It's glorious.
It's interesting with Baldur's Gate 3 because I first saw it with the Stadia trailer, which I was slightly disturbed by because it's basically this guy like turning into a freaking mind flayer.
Amazing.
Like I was just like, what the hell? What is this?
Yeah.
And it reminded me a lot of like the Stranger Things 4 thing. Like the just very disturbing transformation.
I think that was the point.
I know. But it's spade to spade. So I came home one day and Daryl was just like, we need to play this game. Like, we just need to. And so I bought it and I had I'm kind of glad that I didn't have any preconceived notions other than the fact that I saw the Stadia thing. Yeah. I had seen the booth at EGX and that was it. I looked at Astarion. I thought he looked like a magician at first glance. Sure. I was just like, mystical magician is what I got from him. So when I saw him, I was just kind of like, okay, I'll check him out. I'll see what's going on. And the more I got to know the character, the more I just adored him. But he also challenged my way of playing the game. I normally am pacifist, but I'm like, harsh but fair, I'd say. And
let's go hurt someone.
And like here is this character who's just like, let's just sprinkle a little bit of chaos and also like fighting for ourselves, which I'm terrible at in myself. And like he'd ask a question like Zevlor in the in the Grove would just be like, oh you should do this, and it's just Astarion just be like, but why? And I was just like, that's so amazing. Like, why? Why am I doing this without money? Like, why am I not getting paid for my work?
It's sort of like I like the fact he challenges the heroic trope of adventuring. Yeah. Like, why do you need to go and rescue that princess in that tower, or that prince in the tower, or why do you need to slay this monster? What about the monster's feelings?
Like just
all that kind of stuff,
exactly. Cool. And I think that's the thing that was the biggest lesson that I think I got from. Like one of the lessons that I got from Astarion is just that you can question why things are the way that they are. Yeah. And that's great. Yeah. Like I just really love that about him. Like he's just, he made me.
There's a lot to love, darling.
He just made me a little bit more. Yeah, he made me tap into my little bit more chaotic. So I like to think that like my little half elf, and then I played Githyanki later, but. just gave her a little bit more confidence and gave her a little bit more of a right to be like, yeah, no, I can stand up for myself. It's fine.
It's interesting how people have tapped into this game for so many different reasons. So many different characters have resonated with, you know, we talk, I mean, I'm talking about Astarion a lot, obviously, but I'm just one of 258 actors, or plus the mocap performers that also came in from different points of view, like animators that jumped in the suits,
oh my gosh, yeah.
Choreographers or martial artists that came in to work in Ghent or in Kuala Lumpur or Quebec. Well, you know, there were so many people that went into this amazing experience that it's interesting that, you know, there's so many different characters that people resonate with or challenged, or in a good way, sometimes in a bad way, I guess, you know, but also all triggered, what have you, but also in a good or a bad, you know, there's so many different stories that resonate with people, made them go. I mean, I know this because I've spoken to so many people at conventions or in the street. People come up to me all the time, which is very wonderful that people do that. People at Larian, we've also shared stories because I'm very close to Larian as well. And to hear that so many people had a connection to so many different aspects of the story through so many different characters and then changed their life somehow. I mean, that's what art is, really, is to provoke a thought, to provoke a feeling, to challenge your idea of what life is, or what your life is specifically. And then maybe, if you're very lucky, it evokes a really positive change or knowledge or something that you hadn't thought of, or perspective that you hadn't thought of. And so this is why I think this game, above all the games I've ever worked on, has meant so much to me and other people. It's because it had such a profound connection with so many people in so many wonderful ways that I'm not entirely sure I'll ever get to experience something quite like this again, maybe. I don't know. We'll find out.
We'll never know.
We'll never know.
We'll see.
We'll find out.
Yeah. So, Star Wars Galaxies.
Yes.
Like,
fast off server for life.
Oh, that's so amazing. I was going to ask, like, did they have like free companies and stuff in Star Wars Galaxies, like what they have with like Final Fantasy 14 and that type of thing?
Free companies, what do you
mean? Yeah. Like people, like, sort of, you have little groups that you go around
guilds.
with.
We had guilds.
Yeah, guilds. That's what they're calling that.
We had guilds, of which I was part of AOL Guild, which is nothing to do with the phone telecommunications
nothing to do with America
company.
Online.
No, it was the Army of Light Guild. It was called. And it was very cool. So, oh man, this is going back a long time. So yeah, it was a really fun experience. I was on it for about 8 years, 7 years out of the 8 that it was in existence. It was a really interesting experience. It was also the first time that I interacted with the idea of online community, because it was an online game. It was a massively multiplayer online roleplay game, which had a consistent world, obviously, and they had consistent communities. And it was a really interesting experience, because originally when I started playing it, there wasn't any voice. It was all text. So you were communicating via text and emotes as well and what kind of stuff. It was very, you know, back in 2004 is when I started playing it. And then I stopped playing it when the server shut down. I was there for the last day of the server where everything shut down, which was trippy. Because they smashed in. It was an interesting game. It was such a great game. It was really innovative, really interesting. It was the economics worked out really cool. The crafting system was amazing. The house building stuff was amazing. The guild, it was a really cool game, as well as the fact it was a wicked Star Wars feel in the universe. And it felt like Star Wars, man. It was just exactly how you wanted Star Wars to be.
Yeah.
It was a great game. And they were working towards atmospheric flight, and then the thing got canned. So they shoved in atmospheric flight right at the end. The last week was mayhem, because basically every time you'd fight something, they'd just drop legendary loot. Because they'd made the announcement, everybody knew it was shutting down. So the devs basically went, here's everything. Here's all the stuff that you may not have been able to get. Here's everything that you can just play with. And the last few weeks, they dropped in atmospheric flight. And that was like wild. It was like, whoa! It was like, it was really cool, man. The communities that came out of it were very interesting. There was a lot of people that I met that were isolated, that found their guilds or their people, and it became a real lifeline. So for me, it was a very interesting experience of, this is what is the future. This is what the future is going to be. I played it during the period of me entering games as a professional actor as well. So it was like, okay, so now it was interesting to see, okay, well, maybe I understand how performance and storytelling comes in. This is a living, vibrant world. This is a world where it means something to people, and people are devoting time and money to it as well. It was a very interesting experience. I really enjoyed my time in Galaxies. Yeah.
And like with that as well, like did you also like create a lot of characters with?
No, I only created 2 characters.
You only created 2 characters.
I was very loyal.
Yeah.
Very loyal. I had a Twi'lek light side Jedi. which was my main character. And then I also had I can't remember how you pronounce it now. Is it the Thorian? The two, they make this sort of sound on the sides, they make humming sounds. He was an engineer who would craft and create space gear, basically. That was the only things that I had. The only two races I had. So these two characters. And I also created the space wing of my guild. And we would do these, because they introduced a thing called storyteller tokens, which meant you could create your own kind of mini stories. And it was all, you wouldn't get any loot for it or anything. It was just fun. And we created a whole bunch of events that were story arcs. So this one time, one of the heads of the guild got kidnapped, and there were an Imperial faction, there's a rebel faction, and actually all the players in the guild can be of either. You don't have to all be rebels, what have you. And so we pitched the rebels version of our guild against the Imperial side, and we played this amazing thing out. So like it was really awesome, and it worked really well, and we had triggers that would carry the story on. So you had to do this bit and you had to get to here, and it worked really well. It was really fun, and I was the head of this. Well, I was one of the heads of the space wing with another character called Dana, who was like my buddy in it. And there was like 3 or 4 people I was very close to. I had a Jedi master because I was a Jedi.
Of course.
Nuemi, who was my Jedi master. And yeah, man, it was a very cool experience. I dug it a lot. But it was also, it was also a great escapism. Unfortunately, I escaped a bit too much into it because that was during the period where my career was not doing well. And that is the danger of all these things, that games are amazing and they can teach you a lot. They can help your reflexes, they can help your mind, they can help people find communities. You just have to make sure your life is not suffering because of it, because that's the danger of them, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is like anything, like danger of television, danger of too much sport, or even you just be careful that you're maintaining your own life at the same time. You can't escape so far into it that your own life is way worse. Because that was the thing, like on those kind of games, you're like, my Jedi's life is amazing. I'll just do that and be happy forever.
This is my second life.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
It's just Jedi-ified.
Yeah,
it's fine.
So that, I think there was definitely an escapism element to it. But it did give me a sense of fun. It gave me a sense of not being alone, as much as it felt like I was in the stuff I was dealing with. So it was a good vibe. It was a good time. I had a great time. And,
I think that is the thing about like the sort of loneliness in, like, you can be surrounded by people in an environment and then just feel completely alone, and to have something online like that is
coming back to like Baldur's Gate. It's like it's not just about being surrounded by people, because like you said, you can be alone in a crowded room. It's about connection, about somebody understanding you, and importantly, you understanding somebody else as well. Because I think, in life that we are set up in our modern cultures, there's a certain narcissistic element to some of the things that we're told how to be as people. Everybody's important, absolutely. But are you more important than anybody else? I mean, that's questionable. Everybody's important to themselves. They should be. It's their life. And you should respect that. People get very upset with other people when people are being insensitive or just not caring, because they think they're deliberately hurting them. And sometimes they're not. They're just not aware. They're just not aware of other people. They're too wrapped up in themselves a little bit. So then it's about connection, and it's about connection for yourself. It's also about connecting to other people. And I think human beings do suffer when we feel isolated and alone, because maybe we're afraid of giving out the vulnerability of ourselves to other people. Say, this is me, I'm not sure if you're going to like it or not, and that's okay if you don't, or vice versa, or making a judgment on somebody without giving enough time to that person. Being judgmental means you make a judgment and you will not change it because you don't care to. Being non-judgmental means you make a judgment and then you wait to see if you're wrong. And I think that's the point about being non-judgmental. It's like, I'm going to make a judgment. It's just human nature. It's survival mechanisms, actually. But then I'm going to take a moment and go, let's see if I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, cool, great. Pleasantly surprised about that, So I think online games are super useful and important in that way. Online communities about games like Detroit Become Human or Resident Evil, that kind of things, all of those are very useful for people to find connection with people that get them, and vice versa. They shouldn't supplement real friendships in the world, but they can become real friendships. Then people should meet each other. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I often hear people at conventions who've met each other through Resident Evil or Baldur's Gate. People got married through meeting each other through these games, because they took the time to go, we've spent years online as friends, now let's meet in real life again, because that's a whole nother level of friendship that you should do, I think, if you can.
Yeah.
It's always a financial issue, obviously. But if you can, you have this friend. It's like, what a wonderful thing. What a beautiful thing to meet people all over the world, to bring everybody closer, to make people less afraid of other people. That's also a big thing. So,
yeah, completely. And I think that that's something that you do really well with your community as well, like with your streaming community.
Yeah, we got lucky, I feel. I've been streaming now since the pandemic. It was a very selfish thing. I just wanted to hang out with my best friends.
I mean,
so this is a way of doing that.
So selfish.
So selfish. I know, but yeah. So Tom is one of my closest, oldest friends. Tom DeVille's an amazing, beautiful writer with Marvel.
He's so great as well.
He's a great guy as well. He's an amazing guy. So he and I are really super close friends, as well as massive geek gamers together as well. And yeah, he and I have the same ethos about people and about life. We don't believe that we're better than anybody else. We believe that everybody should choose to manifest their own destiny, also present to the world who they are, how they identify in their gender, how they identify sexuality, who they want to love, how they want to love, how they want to live their life. If they have religion, that's cool. As long as you don't hurt somebody. Our number one rule I can't say because you don't have profanity in this, which is don't be a insert word there. Yeah. That's our only rule for the channel, is just don't do that. Like, be cool. And it's okay if you have your prejudice or whatever, you're entitled to not be okay with whatever, but maybe you can learn something by parking that here, listening to other people, maybe talking to people that in your real life world you may have a problem with. Maybe you're wrong. Maybe you should be proven to be wrong by just listening or talking or offering up, because then maybe you might change your mind. So we have a zero tolerance policy for prejudice. I don't mind if people have different politics. I don't mind if people come with kind of, I just don't like that. It's like, cool, you don't like that. Don't be a thing about it, but you're welcome. Just don't cause a problem for other people that have a different point of view from you or have a different lifestyle to you. Just don't cause them a problem. Because then if you don't cause them a problem, they're not going to cause you a problem, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So everybody's welcome. What we're trying to do is just normalize things. Yeah. Like, it's a safe space. It's a comedy show. So we pitched it together. This is a comedy show. This is not our real life. It's an aspect of a real life, I guess, but it's not like welcome to my private life. It's more like welcome to something that I'm doing anyway, but now it's a show. It's a comedy show. It's like a bit of fun. It's to give you a space, a safe space, be yourself, like what you like, take some time out from whatever you're dealing with, so you know that we're here just to have fun and doesn't get too heavy in that way.
So now we're moving on to Skyrim and Fallout.
Fallout comes first.
So Fallout. Okay, cool. So with Fallout, so which one did you sort of start with? Or?
I started with in a weird way. I started with Fallout. I found by accident in a bargain basement bin thing situation, Fallout Tactics. Oh, and again, I was like hooked immediately, even though it's not the most popular Fallout game. This is still the isometric view. I just thought it was cool because you can make your own group of Brotherhood of Steel people. Sick. And then it was like it was isometric tactical stuff with a little bit of story in there. I thought it was cool. I loved the world. Oh, this is interesting. This is Mad Max. And I was like, oh, this is just like one in the series. So then I also bought like 1 and 2 together and started playing that and went, how have I not played this game? Because I played Baldur's Gate like years before. I found these games when I was like a teenager, but I'd already played Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. So then I was like, how have I not found these games are amazing? And then also realizing when I played them that actually they had a lot of freedom in them, that you could do a lot. Morally, it was very open, like how you approach things. You could use, like you did, again, it didn't explain a lot of how to do things. For instance, that you can use science on a little sort of pixelated doorway that wasn't flashing, oh, you can press this. You just had to work it out. And I remember thinking, this is really exciting. This is like really good. Also, I loved the storytelling, and I loved the writing was amazing. And, the acting was pretty good considering how old it was. And it was just a really awesome time. I remember thinking, this is an amazing game. This is the kind of game that I would love to be, to be in as an actor. Yeah. Well, I didn't think that, but like going forward, obviously, this is the kind of stuff that I really like.
Yeah, the amount of play, it's like, and I think that is the thing with the Fallout series in general, is that like talking about characters, there's a lot of cool characters that you could have the chance of playing with in Fallout.
And it's one of the reasons I'm so happy to see the TV series. It's absolutely nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Like I remember watching the series, I was screaming in my chair, just like, yeah, they did it, you know, because it was just, they got it right, man. They really got it right. And I think those games were very special because these are the games, including things like Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, which also massive impact on me as a teenager, as a kid. Without they set the groundwork foundations of open world games, of choosing how to play. You know, you also have games like Deus Ex and things like that, which allowed you multiple pathways, multiple ways of doing things. But these were also the games, narratively speaking, that allowed you to kind of, how do you want to be? Like you are the hero de facto of the game, but how is that hero manifest? How do you perceive your version of this person in this story? It was very cool. Yeah. And also I love the character interactions as well, which sounds crazy because Fallout 1 and 2 has text. You know, you don't really have like interactions with your characters that much. Maybe Harold and a few other random Mycon, I think was a jet dealer or something like that. Like, he was a kid. You had some FMVs, kind of animated FMVs. But really, it was just a lot of it was text and how you felt about that particular character. Tycho is just like a shotgun wielding bartender that you end up picking up. He comes along with you if you choose to bring him. There is no real interaction with him beyond a few text things that he says. But you can sort of fill in the gaps and you can sort of make him your companion in that way. So I was just really blown away by it. And I thought Bethesda did an amazing job with 3 and 4. And also, you know, Obsidian did, Obsidian did New Vegas, which is probably one of the best ones. I think it's probably the best one still. But 3 and 4 are great, and I really love the hell out of both of them. So, really huge fan of Fallout.
Fallout definitely was one of the first games that I played that I was just kind of like how am I able to just be myself? Like, how am I able to be my character?
Sure.
But my character truly.
Yeah, sure. I liked the what if thing about Fallout, the new Fallouts and Skyrim as well, especially Skyrim, was the what if I don't do this and just do that? That was, and Skyrim took it to a whole nother level. Because Fallout 3 and New Vegas and 4 have that open world attitude of, you can be who you want, like you said, this is a brilliant thing, but also you can go anywhere. Skyrim just went, you can do anything you want right now. You do not even have to do the main quest until much, much later, if that's how you choose to play the game. And that was mind-blowing. Skyrim, I was playing Skyrim a lot. And at one point it was winter time, and I threw open the window and made the room I was in sub-zero temperatures, or however cold it was outside. It was snowing. It was snowing that day. And I opened up the window and I frosted the room I was in. I shut off the heating and frosted it, and then wrapped myself up, because I was playing in an area of Skyrim that was just I was like, this is amazing.
Method gaming.
Yeah, man.
It's literally method gaming.
And somebody came into my room and went, what the hell? I was like, dude, you don't understand. This is like ARG. I'm deep diving into this experience right now. Be gone.
I need to feel the frostbite on my nose.
Put a towel underneath my door so the rest of the house is still warm, but this room is cold.
Off limits.
It was great, man. It was awesome. Skyrim was a beautiful experience. Very cool.
I remember Daryl and I played it on stream once, and we made a wrong turn where we ended up as a vampire. Which is just like...
It happens.
It just happens. You just end up in a cave.
Oblivion, vampirism is the thing. Okay.
But it was that thing of just having that question mark of like, you can do this. Yes. Yeah.
Also, it was relatively limited in the UI, so you didn't have a huge amount of. You could turn the quest markers off, so you'd have like the direction, and also you had to read books, and through the books you could work out.
Yeah,
and I think it was just awesome role
part
play.
Of the marketing. Yeah, like you have full books in the game.
Oh yeah, and a series
of
books as well. Yeah,
like
the Lusty Argotonian, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Lusty Argotonian barmaid.
I mean, I didn't have the attention span for a lot of them. But I appreciated that they were there.
I read everything.
You did?
I was diligent.
Yeah. Oh, good for you.
I made it a thing that my character would sometimes take time out and just read books.
Oh, well, there you go. Just make it nice and cozy.
Yeah, man.
And would you do it?
Commit to the bit.
Yeah.
Commit to the character.
Yeah.
It was cool.
And you just put on like a little candle that's scented of the book.
I didn't go that far.
You could. I'm just saying, you could.
You could do. I like the fact you could, because I modded the hell out of it as well. And there was stuff like, there's one mod I think was like, you can turn on and off campfires by like flaming it and stuff like that. Just things like that.
Yeah.
The modding community was also very interesting because it was the first time I'd ever seen a game modded to that degree with such love and care. That I thought, this is incredible because it's just expanded. People still play Skyrim.
Oh, yeah.
Like a lot of people still play Skyrim with all these amazing mods that have really changed the game in beautiful ways. Same with Vegas as well, New Vegas. Same thing, like really incredible mods to expand the life cycle of this game. And it's very cool. I love the fact that that's also a community-led thing. And
yeah.
It's very cool. Long may it last.
Yes. And like speaking of that as well, you were in...
Interesting segue.
Look at this. You're doing so good. But yeah, I mean, Fallout London.
Yeah, that was
like
funny.
Barry the Boat.
Barry the Boat, yeah.
Like...
Barry the Boat is based on some of the characters from On the Buses.
Oh.
Which is an old 1960s, 70s, 80s, no, 70s I think it was, TV series in England.
Oh, okay.
Which is very British, old school humour, probably problematic these days, probably. But at the time, was super famous. But the characters were really fun. There's one particular one called the Inspector, who had like a little Hitler moustache, and he was like a real jobs-worthy sort of. He was like that. So I just thought elements of that would be fun for Barry the Boat, because Barry the Boat is basically a bus.
Yeah,
he's basically a bus. I just thought it'd be funny to add elements of that to him. He was sort of very dour. Everything's a problem.
Yeah.
Very British, sensibilities
very.
about everything's a nightmare.
Did you have any say on the lipstick that Barry had?
No, but we did improvise a lot.
Yeah.
We improvised a lot. In fact, the Fallen folks were so lovely that I improvised quite a lot of stuff that they added in the quest line for him. Because originally they had a quest line for him. They weren't going to do it. And then after I offered up my offerings.
You had your play.
Yeah, my play. They liked the extra stuff that I did, like put on the tapes so much. They decided to then add on his quest line again, which is why you get a quest line with Barry, which is really cool. So it's fun, man. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
But I think that's so cool as well, because like how did you originally get involved?
I just heard about it, and Astarion and Baldur's Gate 3 and everything just kicked off and come out in a wonderful way. And I'd heard about Fallout London for a while. I'd already sent them a message like a year before, maybe 2 years. I can't remember. It was a long time ago, saying, "Hey, this sounds great. I want to be involved. I'm a fan of Fallout, and it's a free mod, and that's not an issue. And I'd love to offer myself up to help." And they missed my message.
Oh God! What a message
by about a year
to
and a half.
What a message to miss.
Apparently, they said, one of the guys said, I got this message from him like ages ago on Twitter. And he was like, I don't know who this guy was. It was like, okay, you should probably get back to this guy. And they're very sweet and they're very kind, and they invited me along. And I also like the fact it was a free mod, so none of us got paid. We just did it because we wanted to do it. There's a danger, I think, when actors become successful that indie developers or AA's or whatever think they can't afford you, which is nonsense. So you see an actor win awards and things like that. It doesn't mean you can't afford them, because we are jobbing actors at the end of the day. It's just nice to remind people that actually we're doing it for the craft, and yes, we get paid for our time, but playtime's free. I play for free. I get paid for my time, which is very valuable because I don't get that back, as none of us do. That's why we get paid. I think for creative jobs is for our time, not for the play. Play's free. Yeah.
That's what you get in the job description. Yeah. But that's so cool. And like what a wonderful way to like contribute to the community as well. Because
it's also a community run thing. There was a mixture of professional devs, professional actors, and non-professional actors, and maybe amateur devs, and I'm not sure. There was a mixture of people that were in the industry and not in the industry, and people trying to get into the industry. I thought it was a really cool endeavor. Yeah, it was really fun.
And like, what was the recording like? Did you kind of have to like do it from home, or did you?
It was a home studio, so they just sent me all the stuff through, gave me some ideas about the character, what they were looking for the character. Then I just recorded it and had fun. Send it to them. They reviewed, with any notes back, and usual kind of process, just not like live, which was fine. I'm pretty sure I recorded it in Los Angeles actually. I ended up doing it because I was working so much abroad. I was like, well, I'm in LA. A friend of mine had a booth, so I just did it with them, and it was cool.
I just find that amazing, like the whole experience of having this mod, that just it felt so prestigious as well, having people like you involved as well as the people who were creating it and creating something so well developed.
It was really well done. Like really well done.
It's just it
very impressed.
Brings such validity in that type of community. Because, like, I mean, we can have our laughs. I love the Thomas the Tank Engine from Skyrim.
It's a bit weird, yeah.
I am a bit weird, Neil. This is me. But
it's like Baldur's Gate. There's like millions and millions and millions, 50 million mods downloaded within like a month or something crazy like that. Yeah. I mean, it's really exciting to see what they're going to do. Yeah. With new adventures, new campaigns within Baldur's Gate. That's very exciting. That's very cool. So, and again, all this stuff, like modding communities should be allowed to thrive. They should be allowed. I think all games should allow people to mod, irrespective, and have support for them. I don't think it should be monetized. I think it should be a thing that people, because the game actually will be successful longer. Yeah. You know, people are now still buying Skyrim for the reason that they're in mods. I don't think they should be monetized. I think mods should be free. Time and people should get recognition for them. Yeah. But they should be free. They shouldn't. You shouldn't have to buy them. It should be just part of the love of it. You know?
Yeah.
Personally.
No. Completely.
Personally speaking.
Yes. No. I completely agree with that. And oh my gosh, the animation for the announcement of the mods for Baldur's Gate 3.
The animations are really fun, yeah.
Oh, they're so fun.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun. Yeah. The wonderful writer Gira who writes all of the animations. She's really cool. She's a very nice person as well, but she's also very talented. Yeah. We had a lot of fun with the animations. Cool.
It's like one of the only things I actually do let my children watch of Baldur's Gate 3.
Just you let them watch the animations?
They watch like that. Yeah, they're not that bad. I do pre-read them. Pre-read them.
Okay.
That's fine. But they're just so silly.
Well, they're fun because we get to push the character in a very hyper-real way. Yeah. Like Astarion is way over the top, you know, which is fun because I never got to do that, obviously, with the main performance because we wanted to keep him grounded, even though he's quite theatrical or operatic at times. Like, we wanted to keep him grounded, whereas the animation, it's like, just go.
Just have fun.
Just go wild.
I love the one particular one where I think his face gets his hair gets distorted, and there's just this really great moment of you screaming and this running away. That's just so perfect, and like the sound design of it going away. I'm just like, this is just perfect. And Lae'zel gets her nose done. And it's just, absolutely brilliant. But yeah, no, long live the mods, and we have to see more in the future as well. Yeah. So Detroit Become Human, like this game was just like a sensation.
When it was out. For me personally, it was also like Kingsglaive was. It was another moment of my career suddenly leveled up, and in a way that was very interesting and new, and it was a game changer for me.
Almost like a portfolio, like it's that portfolio piece.
I definitely have like, I guess the old-fashioned term is tentpole games that definitely stand out above the other stuff I was doing. All of which was good. You know, it wasn't like those are the only good things or whatever. No. But these games were very definitive in terms of my career path. I'm also most importantly, proving to other people that I can do this, that I definitely have a place in this industry, as well as to myself as well. Because obviously I came from a place of like almost quitting acting, of feeling very distraught, very down on myself, huge imposter syndrome at that point, just broken. And then to have to rebuild yourself back up again takes an awful lot of will and an awful lot of strength. I know I'm saying that looking back on myself. What I went through, I don't think I really took stock of until maybe the last few years, going, wow, I came a long way from essentially being broken in my career and just feeling useless and worthless and very little self-worth in terms of myself as an actor and ultimately as a person, I guess, in many ways, because it's a vocation, not a job, you know. To then going from that to where I am now and the stuff I'm doing, the stuff I'm creating, trying to help other people, etc., like that takes a lot. That was a lot. And it was joyous, but it was a lot. And so I think, you know, Detroit was a great moment for me personally to have the faith that Quantic and David took in me, saying, we want you to play this character, but we also want you to play this character too.
So was that like from the beginning that they were just like, no? So what happened?
Okay, so I've told this story before, but I have no problem telling it again, because it was a real okay moment, because I went up for Gavin Reed. Gavin Reed, who's a East Coast like cop in Detroit and is a bit of a not great person, but actually there's reasons for that, and which I sort of, you know, have canonically in my head of why he's like that, etc., etc. And it's a really fun character to play. Originally, it was just that character, and that character serves as a a foil to Connor in a small way, because it just makes you want to root for Connor more. He's kind of he's a real antagonist in that way, that he's just there to make you feel more. And he's become a character that people really like for some reason. And during the audition, I did a good job on that, because I felt that this is a good job. I knew that David was happy with it. And then during the audition, David Cage started looking at me in a funny way. And I was like, I wonder if there's like, what is he thinking? Like, not flustered, more like, okay. Yeah. And he went, I've got this other character. I was like, okay, cool. He wants to try, okay, I want to try out for the character. And he was like, it's the creator of all the androids. I was like, that's interesting in itself is interesting. And he went, I want you to try it. I was like, okay, I'd love to. And he goes, can you do it in, like now? I was like, yeah, great. Give me the script. As in, I'll go away and read it and come back again. And I just took the script and looked at him. And he was like, oh, you want me to do it like now?
Yeah.
like right now?
Like right in a second. Yeah.
Okay, can you give me a minute to read the script? Yeah. So I had a minute to read the script.
Wow.
Literally, I just went, okay, dum, 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 dum. It was a monologue piece. So I was like, okay, well, I can make some strong choices because I have to.
Exactly.
I was like, okay, so, all right. Yeah, let's just try it. Pure gut instinct based on some very quick suppositions I made from the script, from what he told me as well about the character he had envisaged. I just went, okay, well, there's a few people, because I'm very well read, because I'm also very well aware of politics and society, and I'm trying to watch news, I try to keep up with current events, because it's all fuel for the actor. That I was like, okay, well, I know like half a dozen, Richard Branson, Elon Musk, like all the Bezos, all these kind of people, Zuckerberg, all these kind of people that are of the same level that he's at. There's elements of those people I can draw into this. Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs.
Because they would have had like a similar,
There's a similarity of
journey.
ego
that
runs through all of them.
Yeah.
That was like, okay, that's interesting. I've got some very quick ideas I can play with right now with David. Now, here's the thing. As a trained actor, the one thing it gives you more than anything else is the feeling of competency. And when you feel competent at something, it means you're not insecure to worry about whether people think you're good enough. You have a self-belief. You still get imposter syndrome. But for me in that moment, I had two choices. One was, I have to be good because he's looking at me. And it could have gone horribly wrong and spiraled. Or I could have just gone, which is what I did, which was like, I'm a craftsperson. I've got training. I've got ideas. I've got fuel already. And I'm just going to trust that my gut instinct is good. So I'm just going to go with that. And that's what we did. And then he just went, okay, well, let's play two characters. It's like, cool.
Yeah.
So that was down to David. David was very sweet and offered that up. And I got very lucky. I got to play Gavin Reed and Elijah Kamski, which was great.
But I think like that's something that comes up a lot is this honesty to characters. And obviously like that's something as an actor that you craft over time, is to find the honesty in each of the characters.
Well, it's actually, it's kind of getting out of your own way as well. I feel that often we overthink things too much. I do a lot of, the intellectual part is character design, research, rehearsals. That's where the intellect lies. When you're actually playing the character, you got to switch your brain off and go with your instrument and go with, the totality of you and your impulses and the work you've already laid foundationally before. So a lot of the time when you're approaching things, like people overthink, because really what they're thinking is, I want to be good, I want to be great, I want to get the award for or whatever the thing is that they're racing to, or just be liked, or whatever the thing is, right? As opposed to going, slow down, what is the task? What is the character in front of you? Who could this character be? And then just doing it bit by bit by bit and creating the building blocks in a in a kind of easy way.
Yeah.
So it's interesting with those opportunities, because the opportunity is exciting to then put a character together. You just have to be mindful to go, just focus on the work. Don't focus on whether it's going to be good or not.
Yeah,
just do the work.
Well, that's it. Yeah, it's like the motivations. Like I always love that in acting class, that sort of idea of like what motivations work. Like a motivation, like I want to be good, is that's not something that you can really.
You can play that as a character.
Yeah.
Because the interesting thing is a character has a drive of the need to be good, or the need to be respected, or whatever the thing is. That's interesting. But as the actor, that stuff has to be parked at the door.
Exactly.
That stuff cannot infect the work you're doing.
Yeah.
It's the same reason why I try to be very private about my private life, because I don't want my private life to come into, factually, I mean, my work. Like I don't want people to know more about me as a human being than they do about the human being I'm trying to portray, or the rock monster, or the ape, or whatever it is I'm trying to play. That's amorphosized. I want them to understand. Okay, what's that character about?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So, but again, it's like this takes time, it takes training, it takes experience, it takes screwing everything up.
Yeah.
I mean, I've made a mess of many auditions, especially as a younger actor, mainly as a younger actor, I would say, that I caused so many problems for myself. Eventually, I learned through my thick skull. Eventually, I went, I should not do that anymore, because that doesn't work. That's what wisdom is knowing what doesn't work, you know? So all that stuff is great.
Yeah.
But what a journey.
Yeah. But I mean, also to have the character look like be you as well, like in terms
physically,
of like
yeah,
looks.
that was cool. Yeah. That was like only the second character in my career that actually looked like me.
Yeah.
I was scanned for that one. I was also scanned in Planet of the Apes. I played an ape and a human, again doing multi-role. So it was really fun. But yeah, I've only had a couple of instances of being scanned as me.
But I do think like some of the characters, when you look at them, you can kind
Astarion definitely looks like me.
you
I look like
see
him,
the glimmers, yeah.
He
But
and I
even
look
like
actually.
Heisenberg, like I see like a little bit. I think in like some of the ways in which like maybe you chew your words or the way.
But that is my performance though.
Yeah.
So the skin is not mine.
Yeah.
That is actually a model actor. Who got scanned for that. But the performance is me.
Yeah.
You know, so definitely there is like, you can definitely, there is a very palpable. That's why, because rendering is so good now, software is so good now, that graphics are so good that you can have nuance. Going back to Final Fantasy Kingsglaive was the first time I remember watching a performance that I did that had real subtlety and nuance coming through the animation. Because they had this little eye moment, which there was a line of dialogue I didn't want to say because I think it was too on the nose, about my best friend dying and this person saying, I'm sorry about your best friend. And he says, or something about it. And as opposed to that, I said, can we just do that in a look? Not knowing how good the fidelity of the software was going to be. We did it, and it translated incredibly well because they put the camera right here next to my character. The character's in background there asking the question, and it's just a little wince, a little eye movement to show the pain that he's under. But he's also on guard. He's on duty, so he can't break down. He can't break into tears. He can't get upset. So he just winces like that. And they caught it, and they show it. And it's really a really lovely little moment that they had to let breathe, you know? The second I saw that back in like 2015, 16, I realized what a game changer we're now in terms of games and cinematics and performance.
We could have subtext.
You can have subtlety and nuance that we couldn't do back in 2010 so much.
You know? It's like the characters.
Like about the same thing.
It's like, what is he doing?
I'm called 30K because I killed 30 people with a grenade. A little different, you know. So it's like, you know. So it was really nice to be a part, to see the evolution of the work.
And I mean that, like, and you have been a part of that evolution over time as well.
Old school mocap,
which is just so cool.
Old school mocap when we didn't even have real time.
Yeah.
We just saw balls in the air, and actually it made total sense, and it looked just like I understand the movement, how the scene works. Even just little balls flying in the air, but somehow your brain filled in the gaps. You could see the character come through. It's very cool.
But it's just such that's such an amazing thing to be on the precipice of something.
I think, memory serving me, there's only one or two people in the UK that still work from the time when I started.
Wow.
One of them's in the north of England. He works a lot. Used to work a lot, I think, with Rockstar. And I think there's people that started just after me that still work. But when I started working, I don't think there's any of us left apart from me and maybe one other person up in the north. That's it. Yeah, everybody else started like maybe a year or 2 or 3, 4 years after me.
You can be the Jedi of the motion.
I'm the old man.
No, not the
I'm
old
so
man.
old. My day, we used to have to make the balls float ourselves using our minds. No, I'm the old man of. I'm one of the old men of mocap. There's a few people in America who started before me. TJ Storm's a good example. I think he's pretty sure he started before me. Richard Doughton is another one. I think it's old school people. But yeah, there's not many of us around, man. There's it's kind of interesting going from 2010 to now to 2024.
I know.
Seeing that change is kind of wild. 2009, I think it was when I started. Yeah.
And then with Resident Evil 3 and Resident Evil Village.
Those are fun games.
They
were fun.
Yeah. So how did your journey start with it? Like.
So I did Planet of the Apes: Last Frontier, which was a great endeavor. It wasn't a game really; it was like a mini series. It should have been. I think it should have been posted as a TV series, not as a game. It was posted as a game. I think that was the wrong marketing. It was a TV series. It was interactive. It was purely TV. It was very, very good, well acted, well written, well directed. Steve Kniebly was the director on that. I had a great time on it, and I got to do ape work, arm extension work. So I learned, that was back in 2016 as well. Very pivotal couple of years, 2015, 16. And we created an ape SL language, like an ape language through sign language. It was really very detailed, about 80 words strong. It was a very cool experience. So I worked with Steve on that for about, I think it was like 8 weeks shoot, and I did all 8 weeks, including the stunt week as well. I was very lucky because I get to do everything, so it was very cool to do that. And Steve and I became friends through that, very close friends. We stayed friends afterwards, and he then moved to Japan, and he and I were still friends the whole way through. And he was lucky enough to be interviewed, and then he got in with Capcom to do Resident Evil 3, was his first project with them. And then he called me in for an audition in Los Angeles. He said, "We don't have to come out, because you're not here at the moment. So don't worry about it." So no, I'm coming out. So I came out for 3 days and did the audition to play Nikolai Zinoviev. And I got it. I also helped out find Nicole Tompkins. Nicole came in, but there was a whole bunch of different Jills. And Steve and I were very close, obviously. So he said, "Well, I want you to help me out as director. I want you to be my actor, to work with each person, to do chemistry reads and all that kind of stuff." It was like, yeah, cool. So I met Jeff Shine and Nicole Tompkins in the car park of the place we were auditioning at Bang Zoom. Met them and started working with them in the car park because they just both had it immediately. So there was myself, Nicole, and Jeff just rehearsing lines. And I did the same for other people as well. But I met those two and I was like, these two are the people.
You just feel
this is it.
Yeah.
And so they auditioned and they both blew the audition out of the water. I was then brought in to try gun train a little bit Nicole Tompkins because she'd never held a gun before, and it was just awesome. They were just so good. And then we went out to Japan. We filmed out there at Digital Frontier in Tokyo for like a month. It was amazing. It was awesome. It was the second time I shot in Japan as well. So I've shot many times in Japan. It was really cool. It was just great, and we just had such fun. Bill Hope was on it, William Hope, who's awesome and glorious and such a nice guy. And we just had an amazing experience. And then for Resident Evil Village, again, auditioning for it, because I don't get many things for free. I auditioned for Heisenberg and the zombie stuff, and they liked it. The Japanese executives went, yeah, cool. Yeah. They liked my work before. And it was also wildly different from other stuff I'd done with them. So they called me back in for that, and I got to play. Then they offered me up Nemesis as well, which was really fun. So I've been very lucky, man.
Yeah.
I'm a greedy actor. I like to do as much as I can.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah. It's play. Like, that's the thing. It's all adding. It's all layered onto your experience.
But also I get to play characters that have more fun than anybody. Yeah. I mean, that's sort of a driving force behind most of my characters. I tend to, if I can get away with it, make them the person in the piece that has more fun than anybody else.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's in my contract.
It's in my contract. No, because if you're playing the protagonist, you are to some degree locked into the story in a way that other people are not. And so that carries a lot of responsibility because often you're driving the story and the story rests on you in many ways. Yeah. Unless you're an ensemble piece like Baldur's Gate, actually, when actually all of us were like, there was 6 of us that were the main characters in many ways. Then you have the player voices on top of that, the player characters as well. And then on top of that, you have all these amazing supporting roles and all those minor roles underneath that. They're also amazing and also notable. That was extraordinary. So that was a true ensemble piece. There is no one lead of that game. It was multiple leads. But another one, more things like, Resident Evil 3, there's Jill Valentine. She is the lead. We get to just play around her, and have fun. Yeah, it was good.
But Heisenberg is just awesome.
Heisenberg was very silly.
Oh, that was I didn't think
they were gonna let me get away with the voice, man. Because I had this idea of how he should be quite loose and relaxed, and I wanted to make him super realistic and naturalistic. So, and then the original audition was he talked like this, and he was very kind of together, and they wanted transatlantic American accent. So it was very much like this, and my name is Lord Heisenberg, and it was very much like a lord. And I just thought, I want to do something a bit more fun with that and that. And they cast me based on that, and I was like, wonder what else I can do with it.
So then they have the job.
Yeah, they have the job. They can't find me. So I was like, okay, well, we went with Cary Grant to begin with. That was where I based his voice on, was kind of Cary Grant-esque transatlantic thing. I was like, well, let's make him more naturalistic. I loved Jimmy Stewart's like naturalism. He was way ahead of his time in terms of his acting delivery. When you watch things like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington or It's a Wonderful Life, some of the stuff he was doing it seems very out of place with the other actors because he's so naturalistic and realistic. So I was like, I want to do a bit of that. Let's break it up. So, yeah, kid, you have a little bit of that coming into the voice, my family. And then I thought, well, he's also got this kind of metallic thing going on. So I put a little, let's see what you're really, that kind of this sort of grating metal on metal. Yeah. Let's see what you're really made of, like that kind of thing that just grates against each other. And then I thought, well, he's also kind of nuts. He's kind of wild because he's trapped. He's gone crazy, trapped in the situation. He cannot escape, but he's now immortal. Yeah. And he's tinkering in a workshop, but he's just like, mad scientist kind of thing. So who do I know I could riffed off a little bit and use an inspiration? Nick Cage, because I can't work out if Nick Cage is the best actor of the ever, or he's completely crazy, or both. It's like, it's really hard to tell with Nick Cage. He's so good and yet crazy and sometimes so wrong. I love it. I think he's a really interesting actor. So I thought, well, why don't we go Cary Grant, a little bit of Jimmy Stewart, and then Nick Cage at the top of it. Sorry, you can't use that line. I'd have to do like, I should, So you've got this weird combination of these three different people blending into the character. So it was really fun.
There was something that I heard recently about
Buckle up, Buttercup. It's just really weird.
There was something recently that I heard about Nick Cage, about like his work on what was it, Long Legs. Yeah. And like the audio person said that he has the perfect register, the perfect awareness of his voice to where he can scream, but it will never make the mic peak.
That's really cool.
Like he just has this hidden like ability within him that he can scream, because he does scream a lot. Yeah. Like that is like his kind
Nick
of thing.
Nick Cage is a really fun actor to watch. I just like the fact he makes just crazy choices sometimes, but commits to it.
Yeah, he has fun.
Yeah. So that's why I used Nick Cage in there.
Yeah.
As an honouring Nick Cage.
Yes. A little altar for Nick Cage. Oh my God, the film with him as well, with him and what's his face, Pedro Pascal, was just
the unbearable weight of massive talent. It's just so good. So good. And again, and then Pig is another example of just something nobody would touch that. And he does these amazing movies. Then just some crazy movies you're like, what did you do that for? But he's a really interesting actor. So I like blending people in together to just experiment, to break out of my own habits and stuff. So Heisenberg, it's like that Baldur punching, which I can't swear because I can't say other stuff. So things like, just playing around with the ideas of who they are, especially to get away from who I am. Yeah, it was a big thing for me. So
we've already kind of lightly touched Baldur's Gate, but we have to talk about the origins of Baldur's Gate as well, the OG Baldur's Gate
1 and 2.
as well.
Whoa, 1 and 2 is awesome.
So how did you first get involved with Baldur's Gate? Like, when did you first find out about it?
Baldur's Gate 1 I played when I was a kid at school. So I was still at school, and one of my friends was him and his dad was like massive PC nerds.
Oh, I love that.
And they made their own, they tinkered a lot with PCs and that stuff. I didn't have a PC. I had still my Spectrum. Yeah. And I think I had a Mega Drive. That was basically I was lucky enough to have a Mega Drive as well. So that was my sort of like gaming experience, was a ZX Spectrum that I still used, and also a Mega Drive. And so they had a PC. It was like, whoa, PC. It's like, you're a proper gamer.
You're really living it.
You're so cool. Yeah. So I go to his house to play games, and I played Doom for the first time on that game. I played Wolfenstein with them, things like that.
Guten Tag.
Guten Tag. They were very, very cool people. They were super geeks. They were my geek friends. I was a geek. It was our geek tribe. And they showed me this game, Baldur's Gate. And I was like, what's that? It's like D&D. It's like, well, we play D&D together. It's like, okay, cool. But my experience of D&D games was like really like the Bard's Tale equivalent of move forward, turn right, dungeoning. And it's really fun. I really love those games. But this was wild. This was completely different. An isometric was like, wow, the graphics were amazing. And the story was so big. And it was also like, you can choose anything. You can choose all these different ways of playing. And it was just like, this is like the tabletop. It's exactly how you do in tabletop gaming, because I was a tabletop gamer for years before that anyway. For me, it was like, wow, this feels like you've got an unseen DM, but it feels exactly how I want to play D&D. It was amazing. And the stories were so beautifully written. And again, there was a morally grey issues as well, that you could be the kind of person you want to play, the character you want to play. You're not tied in to be the hero, have to be the hero, have to do this. It was freedom, really exciting. Really loved it. Yeah, it was very cool. Very impactful again, like Fallout was. Very impactful on me as a gamer and ultimately as a storyteller as well.
What kind of role did you find the most fun to play as? And
I think I played as a thief fighter.
Oh, yeah.
Because I am Luke Goblin in my heart. And I think I'll always be a Luke Goblin in my heart.
Oh, yeah. I'd never get that from Astarion going into the Goblin camp.
Yeah,
it's like I'm reliving my youth.
Yeah, I'm a Luke Goblin player.
Yeah,
I make no apology for that whatsoever.
Yeah, that's fun though.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's awesome. You get the best stuff.
Yeah, exactly. With regards to Baldur's Gate 3, I mean, I've been watching your playthrough on your streams as well with the amazing Bowie.
Yeah, Bowie. Good night, Chuck. Yeah, Bowie's great because she's a couple of sandwiches short of a picnic. She's not the brightest tool. She's not the brightest spark. She is. I like the idea when we were making ideas. Tom and I talked about, okay, what are we going to make? Like, what's the vibe that we want to go for? I remember thinking, like, I like the idea of somebody who's just naive and sweet in the world. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That may make some bad choices, possibly in relationships, but ultimately will do the right thing, even if they're a bit mischievous or they get led down the wrong path or whatever. That ultimately they're just a good person. But I also like the fact they're a bit of a dummy. Yeah. Because it's funny. Oh, because they come, especially because I know the writers well. I know they've written for people that want to have dummies as characters. Yeah. So it's like there's so many times like that is exactly what Bowie would said, and it's really fitting. It's really cool. Yeah. So yeah, Bowie's beautiful. She's hot as well. Yeah. I don't know why I accidentally made a really hot character. It's freckled, tall, red hair, ridiculously muscular body. Yeah, very cool.
One of my favorite things about creating characters, especially nowadays, is the earrings. I don't know why I always get on with the earrings, but having the choice of having like a million earrings on your ear. It's just so fun to me.
But it also comes down to like showing the character represents how you feel or you want to play. No judgment at all. Like the earrings do nothing. Yeah. There are no bonuses for it. There's no hindrance. Yeah. It's purely aesthetic, which means it's a better representation of how you want to be or how you would like to be, or a fantasy you've had that you don't get to fulfill in your normal life. Yeah. Because maybe you're a clerk or something like that. You're a lawyer or something. You can't do that. Or you work in a business or just forgetful or whatever the thing is, or you're too scared to try it or what have you. And you get to do that in a fantasy world. It's very cool. So yeah, Bowie's wicked, and Tom wanted to play a non-binary character for good representation. So we have Azra, who's now fallen from their faith or whatever, and it's just really fun. Aww. So we're having a lot of fun, with the characters. Yeah.
And it's so cool to like live that with your community as well.
Yeah, well, one thing we've told the community is that we don't care about safe scumming. We can. There's no judgment. Yeah. But also we try to play the game as we want to play it. Yeah. We're not being led by you should do this, you should do that. We're not playing by committee. No. Because it's important to understand that everybody's game is valid. A lot of people say, "What's your favorite ending for your character?" It's like there is no favorite ending. I've played every ending. Yeah. The favorite ending is what your favorite ending is, because you're the audience, you're the players. That's what the important thing is. Yeah. So everybody needs, because there's some people that have been had to go out because they ascended Astarion. It's like, well, in their story, that's what happened. Yeah. And in your story, you protected him from that possibility, and he didn't, and that's valid too. They're all valid. Yeah. So it's interesting how people get very wedded to this is what is canonical. It's like that's cool. It's canonical for you, absolutely, and it should remain so. This person chose otherwise, and that's also okay. Yeah,
exactly. And I wish I could, you do kind of shout into the void, or you feel like you're shouting into the void, where it's just like, it's okay to like different things.
It's okay to like different things.
But it's just, but people do get a bit protective of things.
That's okay
and you're just kind of like, okay. The only thing I did wish for Astarion was a better ending, because I love the ending with the thing, but it's the fact that you have to romance him in order to get. That's getting a bit too personal for me. Anyways, I do love that about Baldur's Gate 3, definitely. How has it been, with the actors themselves as well? It seems like whenever you guys get together, it just seems like so much fun.
We're genuine friends.
We
became friends through the process. I mean, I was lucky I got to meet everybody in the cast, with maybe a few exceptions. I met almost everybody that played the Tav role. There was 8 people. that played the Tavra. I've met all of them. I've met majority of the supporting actors that played all these different characters. I've met obviously all the companions, the narrator I already knew. I've met everybody. And through that, I've come away with some hardcore friends from this beautiful experience that we now get to tour with, that we now get to see. You know, Tim Downey's a friend, Jennifer, Aliona, Deborah, Theo, you know, we've got these, and Sam Bayard. You know, we get to work together, we get to hang out, we're friends. We have friendship now, which is a really beautiful thing to come away with. Some of the people I knew before, but not many. Also, you know, I got to know the directors really well as well. And got to know Larian really well, made friends at Larian. It's a really beautiful experience, this thing, and it's been great to have life beyond it. Also working with Wizards now, which is amazing, getting to know them really well. They're super supportive and they champion us a lot, and they deserve a lot of respect from us. Very grateful to Wizards for all their support they've been giving us. So it's been awesome, man. It's been really fun.
And I think that's like such a nice pivot for the industry as well, in terms of just like the continuation on the appreciation of everybody coming together, because there's so many ensemble casts, like particularly with Final Fantasy, where it's just like you don't hear from them anymore, and you're just kind of like, oh, but that was years ago, and like, or they never met each other in person, and it's so wonderful that we've come into a stage now where it's okay for us to come together, and okay for us to like have a fun time, and everybody to celebrate everybody. Like, I love that we live in that now. I
also think it's important for actors to be used in a positive way like that. You know, actors are great at selling things. And to have fun and to be shown to having fun can only help sell a game. You know, because it's genuine. Like, none of us do this because we're forced to do this, or we're getting paid to do this, therefore we're trying to be nice to each other. We genuinely have a friendship through this. We get to celebrate that with each other, celebrate the game that we all genuinely adore. And Larian and Wizards have been incredibly awesome at supporting us in that and offering us opportunities and saying, do you want to go and do this? Like, absolutely. You know, they've been very kind. And also the byproduct of all of this is, of course, more people get to hear about the game and maybe get interested to play it. So it's a really cool. I really urge game companies to support actors going out and doing things like what we've been doing at conventions and things like that, because ultimately it will help sell the game more. If you're looking at it from a purely monetary point of view, on a positive note, it also really gets enthusiasm for the game and makes people want to play it. You know, people go, they're having such a great time, I want to do that. You know, and it's been true that we've had this wonderful, wonderful year since the game got released in August last year. It's been extraordinary. We're very privileged. We're not entitled to this, I have to say. We're privileged to do this. Certainly that's how I feel anyway.
And that is, like, just to end on that note as well, I loved that you were having like you were bringing on some of the people who worked behind the scenes as well onto the stream as well.
Yeah, sure.
Which is like so important. Like,
Stephen's been on our stream. Stephen's delicious.
Exactly.
He's great. I love Stephen.
Like, it's incredible because like there are a lot of times where devs get like, bless them, some of them are just precious little beans, and you know, it's great to hear.
There's a lot of focus on actors in entertainment. We're easily marketable. We're usually big personalities, usually, not always. We know how to speak in front of people, usually. We're good public speakers. We're useful like that. But that's not to say that in games, you know, especially also in film and TV, there are so many people that go to making it. The actor is not the reason the game is successful. You know, the game is the thing. If you want to think about it in this term, the game is the star, the actors are the stars of the game. Do you know what I mean? And I'm very aware of that. And I think it's important that spotlight is shown on devs as well as the actors in it. Of course, you know, everybody wants to see the actors. It's great, and people should. But also see the devs too. And I think that's why I try to, as much as I can, talk about devs in my work in press and things like that, to make sure that they're also honoured. And so it doesn't just become focus purely on the actor who's playing that one role that people like, you know. I think it's important. Yeah, I agree.
100%. So now we've come to our last question, which we ask everybody. What do your game choices say about your career?
Yeah, sure. My game choices, I don't know, this is a weird one because I've not really thought about this question before. What do the game choices say about?
So we're getting the, you know, live reaction.
See, very defensive of me.
Of like,
So you're getting live, unfiltered, unthought of response. What are my game choices? Well, my game choices are very narrative, character driven. They're very much about finding out your story and how you want to play things like Fallout, Skyrim, Dungeons and Dragons based, tactical stuff as well. I like ensemble, I like companions, I like group stuff, you know. And I think all of that leads to me as an actor, really, and as a director as well, is that about this idea of an ensemble cast. I love ensemble casts. I love being a part of an ensemble cast of many different people. Resident Evil 3 very much felt like that. Yeah. Village felt like that. Baldur's Gate definitely felt like that. All these different, even if there's a star of the game, or a lead role, sorry, I should say, that everybody else is as important when you're filming is super important to me. So I think, yeah, the idea of doing multi-role as well, playing different fantasy characters, playing in fantasy worlds, sci-fi, and also high fantasy, low fantasy as well, gritty stuff. I think, yeah, definitely all those things that I play as a gamer, I also love doing as an actor and as a director too. I got to play an ape, you know. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty awesome.
It's pretty fun.
I played a 30-foot rock monster. I played tiny goblins. I played vampires.
You played a boat.
I played a boat. I played a fish in a jar. I mean, it's like, you know, these are all the characters that I gravitate towards in my gameplay. Yeah. Like Mort in Planescape Tournament. He's a floating skull. Yes. Yeah. Amazing. Those are the kind of things as a gamer that resonates with me as an actor as well. Because as far as I see, it's all kind of the same stuff. It's all storytelling. It's all fantasy world building. It's all playtime. So yeah, I think my games do also show in my taste as an actor. I like the complicated characters. I like the characters that aren't immediately, you know, cookie cutter obvious. Yeah. That's how I like to play with in my games. That's kind of the characters I like to play as an actor, and the ones that I'm interested in talking about as a director as well. Yeah,
100%. Gather your party members.
Gather your party. Adventure Falls, darling.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for asking me. It's been a great chat.